Murphy Law in Skip 8643, Sunset on Horizon Boulevard, Part 2. The stakes are pretty high for hard-boiled detective Murphy Law. His friend Fred is injured. Innocent people are getting snuffed out by an anomaly, and it seems to be connected to both the Chaos Insurgency and Horizon Initiative. He's managed to work his way back into the Foundation's good graces, at least for now, as it's up to him to solve this grand and perplexing mystery. Will he crack the case and find out who exactly is behind all this, or will he too get snuffed out? I'll note that this part has some strong language in it. With that, let's take a look. Fade in. Interior, Foundation Research Center number 43. Night. Murphy Law is standing in front of a computer, his face illuminated in a soft white glow. He is reading the file for SCP-2747. After a few minutes, he exhales deeply and shakes his head, then prints out a hard copy of the file. He logs out and closes the server, ironically tipping his hat as he heads to the exit.
Behind all that gobbledygook was one of the worst horror shows I've ever had the misfortune of knowing about. This anomaly snuffed out narratives, stories, fictional constructs, complete, permanent eradication. But it didn't have a physical form. It was an intangible act, a phenomenon, almost a force of nature. If this is what hurt Fred and killed those 3 people, then how was it weaponized? And by whom? And why? All the signs pointed to the Chaos Insurgency, but easy answers never sit well with me. There was still something missing, something I couldn't put my finger on yet.
As Murphy leaves the facility, he pauses. Someone is waiting for him, vaguely profiled against the darkness.
I was tired, frustrated, dead on my feet. All I wanted right then was a stiff one and some shut-eye. What I got, though, was a familiar face, pointing a gun right at my chest.
Murphy pauses, his overcoat billowing in the breeze. Black hair and red fabric whip in sync as the lady silently stares at him.
Friday. Why?
Friday fires. The shot cracks the silent night sky. Murphy winces in pain. A body behind him collapses. Friday breathes a sigh of relief and puts her gun away. Still think it's a good idea to leave me behind? You're welcome, by the way. Friday walks over to the dead body, pulling a balaclava off. Who knows you're here, Murphy? Murphy snaps his magnum out, pointing it at Friday's head.
I'm not in the mood for games, Friday. Tell me what's going on.
Isn't that your job, detective? She kneels down and examines the body. No insignia. Answer my question, Murphy. Murphy remains silent, glaring in the darkness as he holds his gun steady.
You wouldn't know him.
Try me. Murphy frowns.
The SCP Foundation, the Horizon Initiative, and possibly the Chaos Insurgency. Now it's your turn, lady.
Friday sighs and stands up, straightening her hair. My real name is Barbara Dietrichson. I'm a thaumaturgist for the Serpent's Hand. Someone's found a way to kill narrative constructs, and I've been sent to uncover the details. If you'll pardon the pun, we're on the same page here. The part about my husband was a lie. I'm sorry about that. I had to come up with a cover story to draw away suspicion.
Yeah, well, that suspicion you drew off fell on me. Where does the stiff come in?
Murphy gestures to the dead body. The Insurgency doesn't want you any closer to this anafabula, the anti-narrative. Since I assume that's counterintuitive to your plan, and we're both on the same side, I'd like to make a proposal. The wind howls through 2 silent figures.
Something had told me this dame would be no good when I first saw her. But at the same time, I couldn't help but be drawn in. The The old moth to the flame. I knew I couldn't trust her, and I didn't even believe her story about being part of the serpent's hand. But there was something alluring and familiar, I suppose, in that piercing stare of hers. I decided to leave it up to cold rationale and give my instincts a break. They had gotten me into enough trouble already.
Murphy reluctantly puts away his gun.
All right, let's get one thing straight, lady. My work is tough and dangerous, and I don't like looking out for other people when I got enough problems of my own. I'm still mighty tempted to leave you here and move on, but something tells me you'll just haunt my steps regardless, so I may as well let you tag along, if only so I'm not looking over my shoulder all the time. Besides, I'd rather deal with one guardian angel instead of two. She gave me the kind of smile that would warm the heart of any man alive, or else turn their insides to liquid.
I'm glad to hear it, Murphy. I can call you Murphy, can't I?
You don't strike me as the type who'd need permission for anything. She smiled again and followed me back to my car. I left that body behind for the Foundation to clean up. Right now, I needed to rest and gather my thoughts. Something told me that this was only the beginning of...
Murphy?
I looked over at her. At Friday, or Barbara, or whoever this really was. Yeah?
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Murphy smiles, somewhat grimly, as he drives into the darkness. Fade out. Fade in. Interior, Horizon Initiative sedan. Morning. Murphy Law is driving. Barbara is sitting beside him. She is propping her elbow on the sill, resting her chin on her hand. She has her window down, and her hair is blowing freely. Her expression is one of ambivalent content.
We found a decent hotel to spend the night in. Separate rooms, and I ate the first respectable breakfast I've had in months. They had some damn good coffee, too. Our goal that day was to track down the nearest Chaos Insurgency hideout and invite their lackeys to an old-fashioned grilling. Certainly not an easy task, even with a professed witch sitting next to me. The Insurgency was the sort to never be found unless they wanted you to, and to never talk unless they had something to say. Still, it felt like I was finally on the right trail. Friday said she knew where one of their bases were. I had no choice but to trust her on that one. When I had asked her about it earlier, she just blew me off with a vague response. Dames and their riddles, I swear. I looked over at her, just enjoying the day, without a care in the world. She made my heart feel 10 times lighter, while twisting my stomach like Bavarian dough. Ambivalent, I guess you could say. I figured since we'd be partners in this gig, I may as well pull out a crowbar and pry a little. So, what's your involvement with all this? Is it purely professional, or...
Let's just say that I have a strongly vested interest in this. Barbara looks over, giving Murphy an ominous stare. I have very close friends who are fictional constructs, loved ones, and as a warden of the Serpent's Hand... She blinks, biting her lip fretfully. You said it killed 2 people. Normal, baseline humans. If something like that got out, well, I'd say that's a valid enough reason to get involved. You could say I'm looking out for my own interests. Murphy shrugs.
Nothing wrong with that.
What about you, Murphy? I've got a feeling that money and professional integrity aren't your only motives.
A friend of mine got hurt. That's all I needed.
Barbara smiles softly. She resumes looking out the open window. The car turns a corner.
We were almost there. Got stuck in a little traffic. Time enough for me to...
Murphy keeps glancing over at Barbara. She looks back, smirking as he focuses on the car in front of him. Suddenly, the car behind him lurches forward, ramming into the bumper and causing Barbara and Murphy to jerk.
Lousy creep! Wait your turn!
The rear car backs up and rams them again. Two armed figures in balaclavas emerge from the car in front, carrying assault rifles.
Well, wouldn't you know? We had wanted to find the Insurgency, and here they were. Real considerate of them.
Murphy pulls out his magnum. Cars pull up on both sides, boxing him in. More armed figures emerge. Ram them! Murphy floors the accelerator, pushing into the forward car. He manages to wedge it out of the way and speeds down the highway.
So much for the paint job. Sorry, Padre.
Barbara looks behind them. They're following us. 3, 4, no, 6 cars.
This was turning out to be some party. Luckily, I knew how to dance to their tune.
Murphy's car swerves a corner, weaving through traffic rapidly. He runs a red light, narrowly avoiding oncoming cars. 2 emerge and continue following him. Murphy makes another turn. He hands his magnum to Barbara.
It kicks like a mule, but it's fully loaded. There's more ammo in the glove compartment.
Shots fire as Murphy speeds up. Barbara leans out the window, seeing 4 cars pursuing them. She empties the magnum, shooting the window, hood, and tires of one car, which skids off the road. She quickly turns and opens the glove compartment, finding it empty. Where's the ammo?
Damn it. I left it in my Packard. Stupid. Worry about that later. Gotta think of a way to thin these crumb bums out. Hard to do with this sedan. May as well be steering a walrus.
Hold on. I've got an idea. Do you have any cigarettes?
In my coat pocket there. The lighter's next to him.
I won't need the lighter. Barbara puts one of the cigarettes into the barrel of the Magnum. Murphy stares at her incredulously. Barbara smirks as she leans out the window, whispers a few words, and fires. The projectile changes form and rapidly expands, becoming a mass of tar and impacting one of the windshields. The driver swerves out of control and crashes into a streetlight. Murphy chuckles, impressed.
Not too bad. Got any more tricks?
Barbara's eyes glisten. She opens the door, her hair billowing furiously as she leans over, reaching her arm to the blurry asphalt. She whispers a few words and shouts. The asphalt tapers into points, puncturing the tires of the other cars. They careen and collide into each other.
Pretty slick, lady. Any others out there?
Barbara closes the door and studies the road behind them. None that I can... The rear windshield shatters as a steel orb breaks through. Smoke emits from it, enveloping the sedan. Barbara and Murphy cough uncontrollably, crashing the car into a building. Another car pulls up next to them, issuing 5 figures. One of them, wearing a red sash over their right shoulder, directs the others. Secure them and search the vehicle. Rendezvous at 56 Yankee and 20. Barbara and Murphy are forcibly removed from the vehicle and pinned to the ground. The figure looks down at Murphy, kicking his magnum away as he reaches for it. A cloth, reeking of chloroform, hovers before him. Slow fade out. Slow fade in. Interior, Chaos Insurgency Base 56 Yankee, mid-morning. Someone douses Murphy with water, jolting him awake. His hands and legs are bound to a chair, and he's missing his trilby, overcoat, and shoulder strap. He sees 2 armed figures in balaclavas flanking a third, a pale woman with red hair and an eye patch. Barbara is nowhere to be found. Murphy struggles against his binds.
Another fine mess a dame's gotten me into. At least they saved me the trouble of finding their joint. Hopefully all my charm wasn't spent on Friday in those 2 malls, 'cause I ain't seen any other way out of this.
So, this is Murphy Law, the infamous detective. You managed to give us a bit of trouble, Murph. I'm impressed.
Stuff it, lady. Where's the woman who is with me?
Safe and unharmed, and if you want to keep her that way, you'll cooperate. Savvy? Close up on Murphy as he glares.
Yeah, sure. So what do you want, an autograph?
Hardly. There's a weapon Horizon's been developing for several years now. I think you know which one.
Wait a minute. You mean Horizon's the one who made that?
The commander raises an eyebrow, grinning and crossing her arms. I'm not surprised you weren't aware of that. It's one of their biggest secrets. We had to pester them for the better part of 4 years just to learn that much. Murphy stares in silent disbelief for a moment.
Damn. No wonder Veridas was so tight-lipped. I guess I can't be too hard on myself for not seeing it, if a clandestine group like Chaos had trouble digging that up. Do you know how they did it?
I don't answer questions, Murphy. I ask them. What's your relationship with them?
They have my car in their shop. I crashed the one they loaned me.
Oops. Is that all? Murphy stares indignantly.
Do I look like a man of the cloth?
Fair enough. So you're working for the Foundation?
In a roundabout way. I ain't their patsy or their errand boy, if that's what you mean.
The commander shrugs. So, what? You're trying to dig up proof of this weapon so the Foundation can grab it?
I couldn't care less what they do with it. I just want to enact a little unfriendly diplomacy with the ones responsible.
Oh, yeah? Do you even know what it does?
Something about removing fictional constructs from narrative cohesion. A lot of big words from people with too much time on their hands.
The commander nods and gestures to one of the guards. They exit the room and return shortly carrying a plastic case. Contained inside is a wooden number 2 pencil. I wish I could tell you how many of our people died so we could get our hands on this. We couldn't even hold a funeral for them. Nobody remembers who they were. It does that. Murphy stares at the pencil in disbelief.
A pencil? All of this over a crummy pencil? Was this dizzy dame for real? If I ever make it out of this, I guess I can retire, 'cause now I've seen everything.
Murphy scoffs bitterly. The commander nods to the other guard. They leave and come back with a corpse on a gurney. A silver plate with an apple is also on the gurney. The commander gestures, and the guards carefully remove the pencil from the glass case using gloves and tongs. They position the eraser over the corpse and rub it against the body's head. All sections touched by the eraser instantly dissolve until the entire head is removed. Murphy watches coldly as the rest of the body erodes until only its clothing and dog tag remain. That was a normal baseline human. Someone that didn't survive our little chase. In about an hour or so, nobody will remember who he was. Now, for the apple. The commander places the apple on the ground. She picks up a nearby cinder block and smashes it on the apple. When she removes it, the smashed apple quickly reforms. An anomaly. You could eat this thing all day and it'll grow back like new. Now watch. The guards position the eraser on the apple and begin rubbing. The apple soon dissolves completely and does not reform. Murphy is silent. His thumb slides over the scar on his finger. The eraser then touches the silver plate with no reaction. It has trouble with inorganic material, but you can bet that little snag will get fixed if Horizon tinkers with it enough. Anything that was, is, or could ever be considered alive, and potentially anything and everything, obliterated and forgotten. So, that's what it does. Murphy nods his head.
Okay. I believe you, lady. Does the, whole pencil do that, or...?
No, only the eraser. You can touch any other part and be fine. The room is silent for a moment.
And I take it that ain't the only one.
That would be a fair assessment. Alright, dispose of it. The guards exit with the pencil. The commander crosses her arms. That's our goal, Murphy. We want to destroy these things.
So why not call on the GOC?
The commander rolls her eyes. Do you really think the Coalition would get rid of something that makes their operations easier? They'd hoard as many as they could find. No, our goal is full détente. Balance. Nobody gets them.
Gotta admit, I wasn't expecting that. Still. And you thought I'd hand it over to the Foundation when I was finished. You don't know me very well, Toots.
We couldn't take the chance, no matter how small. Even telling them that Horizon was responsible would be too risky. Murphy considers everything in silence.
Smart. I'd do the same in your shoes. So now that I know everything, I guess you got no choice but to make sure I don't leave this room.
The commander produces a knife, casually tracing the tip along Murphy's neck and chest. We could do that. What would you do if we didn't? Murphy smiles grimly.
I think I might like to cause a little chaos of my own.
The commander smiles wolfishly. She cuts the ropes tying Murphy's wrist to the chair, then frees his legs. I'll hold you to that, but don't think I'm letting you go for free. We'll have our eyes on you from now on. Make one wrong move, and you'll be begging us to erase you too. Murphy stands up, rubbing his wrists.
I wouldn't dream of it. Where's my stuff?
The commander nods to one of the guards. He goes over to a door and opens it. Barbara emerges, carrying Murphy's trilby, holster, coat, and gun. Ah, are you finished already? And I was just enjoying my tea.
Cute, Friday. Real cute. You okay?
I've been treated worse by better people. Are you done with him, Leah? The commander stammers, taken off guard. How did you know my... Never meddle in the affairs of witches, dear. The commander shakes her head, bewildered. I guess you can go, then. Just remember what we discussed, Murphy. Murphy puts the rest of his clothes on. He checks his magnum, noting that it's been reloaded.
You can count on it.
Murphy exits with Barbara. She nudges him gently as they head out. So, the commander's on a first-name basis with you already. You must have made quite an impression.
She's just got a screw loose. Kinda like you, kid.
Barbara gives a good-natured laugh. Fade out. Fade in. Interior, Murphy Law's office. Noon.
We took a cab back to my place and had a little lunch while we figured out our next move. Obviously, we had to do something about Horizon, but what really concerned me was the thought of more of those erasers floating around. There had to be some kind of factory or plant that made them, and since the Insurgency didn't seem like they had any leads, Friday and I were on our own. Ah, Friday. She was a hell of a companion. She could get me to talk like no two-bit enforcer ever had, and the things she had to say. We'd be shooting the breeze about nothing in particular, then leap over to crazy stuff like the nature of heroes, or the masculine desire for adventure, or the theater, or whatever came to mind. She seemed to know every language in the world, and had apparently traveled everywhere. I asked her where she was from, and she said Georgia, and then told her I wished I ran into her when I had swung around Macon a few years back, and she had a good laugh. I tell ya, a dame like that. But I digress. We got a call as we were planning our next move, from Sister Claire of all people. She told me that my car was ready, and that someone would deliver it wherever I wanted. I gave her the location of a warehouse not too far from my office and thanked her. Then I stared at Friday sharply, not saying a word. She seemed to pick up on what I was thinking, and we left the office and headed out. Neither one of us trusted Horizon to just hand over a vehicle without adding in a little surprise. So once the delivery guy took off, we searched the old girl for an hour. Nothing but a fresh scent and a little note from Claire. Good luck with the case. Don't worry about the other car. God be with you, Sister Claire. Sweet girl. And maybe my paranoia's a little overactive, but I'd rather have too much than not enough. The Packard started up fine, and after a little test drive, I put her back on the road. Veridas lived a good half hour or so away. Plenty of time for me and Friday to plan, or have another friendly conversation, or...
Murphy's entire body suddenly lurches, stiffening into rictus as a loud humming reverberates. His eyes dance wildly as he's forced to watch the car veering uncontrollably. It collides into a building, but suffers little damage. As he attempts to recover, Murphy glances over at Friday, who's passed out in the seat next to him. His head begins to throb as the humming pierces him. His ears start ringing. His stomach churns. He tries to, but he can't anymore, because he's not here.
Everything stops. Goes quiet. The rain started again. It always rains. This has happened before. I've felt this before. It's happening again.
A figure approaches the car. It looks down on the two unresponsive figures.
No.
Please, no, not again. The figure opens the door. It pulls Murphy out, watching him passively as he falls to the wet pavement. Not now. Not now. I was so close. I was going to... Murphy reaches for his gun. The figure kicks it away. What did you do to me, you bastard? A Scranton reality detonation, Mr. Lawden. The strongest that could be devised, set to go off at a time of my choosing. It didn't have to be this way, you know. You could have taken the hint, backed off, left well enough alone. You've got no one to blame but yourself for all this. The figure kicks Murphy Lawden. It kicks Lawden again. SCP-3143 staggers, struggling to look up. Against the piercing droplets of rain, it beholds the visage of Site-278 Senior Containment Specialist, Dr. Levy. You? Yes, me, Mr. Lawden. Now go ahead and connect the dots. You're not so dense or washed up that you can't even do that. SCP-3143 coughs. You're with Horizon. A fucking mole. Front of the class, Lawden. Go on. You planted that thing on my car. Without innocent little Claire even knowing. Or the delivery man. High marks. SCP-3143 groans, curling up in pain as the effects of the Scranton reality detonation surge through his body. You killed those 2 people in Corsica. What 2 people, Mr. Lawden? I don't remember a thing. Levy grins and crouches down. He removes SCP-3143's trilby, scuffling his hair before striking him. It's a beautiful assassin's tool, isn't it? You could kill anybody and nobody would ever remember it. Their bodies dissolve, leaving no evidence whatsoever. Of course, I wouldn't have been forced to do it if... If what, Lawden? Why was I forced to kill those 2 John Does? Tell me. SCP-3143 glares up at Levy. How the hell should I know? Because you're supposed to be the fucking detective, right? You wanted all this. This was your fantasy, right? Or do I need to hold your goddamn hand? Levy reaches over, crushing SCP-3143's hand, causing him to yell in pain. They found out who you were! They outed you! You shut down the security feeds and you... SCP-3143 roars in pain. Levy relents. There, see? That wasn't so hard, was it? Well, why'd you call placeholder? Why help with the investigation? Because that's what a good mole does, Mr. Lawden. They divert suspicion by following the rules. I'll admit, I didn't expect you to catch on so quickly, what with how these things work, but... C'est la vie. Oh, and before you start pinning everything on me, no, I didn't hurt your weird book buddy. Another mole did that some time ago, just to test it out. I wouldn't have stopped at its foot. Ah, Almost forgot. Levy waves SCP-3143's trilby. He reaches inside, lifts the inner band, revealing a small recording device. Remember when you gave Romeo your hat? She planted this on it. It's a good thing, too, otherwise we wouldn't have picked up your friendly chat with the Insurgency. You're one to talk about moles, Lawden. All you seem to do is dig and dig. We were hoping you'd distract the CI a bit longer, or at least go out in a blaze of glory and spare us the trouble. Why else do you think we allowed you to wander around? But I guess even the best tools stop being useful eventually. Ah well. Levy tosses the trilby away. He reaches into his coat pocket and takes out a plastic bag containing a pencil. SCP-3143 panics. I tackle this pompous asshole right in his knees, throwing him to the ground. Then I slug him in his ugly face and stab him in the eye with that pencil. Levy appears confused. What are you going on about? Did I hit your head too hard? He kicks SCP-3143's head. Or maybe I didn't hit it hard enough. SCP-3143 groans, rolling over as he attempts to orient himself. What the hell? Why isn't it working? I run over and grab my magnum and give him a lead sandwich. SCP-3143 remains motionless. Levy chortles briefly. You've finally gone off the deep end, Mr. Lawden. You hate to see it. Levy trips and falls right onto his pencil and dies. He dies. Stop! Get the fuck away from me, you maniac! Levy gets the fuck away! Levy kicks SCP-3143 again. He goes silent. That's better. Now let's see. What to remove first? Better test it out just to be sure. We're supposed to only be using these on the most evil anomalies, but... Levy leans over, casually flicking the eraser against SCP-3143's chin, leaving a scar. SCP-3143 shudders but remains silent. Guess it works. Time for the real thing. Oh, and Murphy? Your typewriter friend says, fuck you. Levy smiles as he positions the eraser over SCP-3143's chest. Don't worry, Mr. Lawden. It's quick and painless. A pulsating black and purple spire abruptly protrudes from Levy's torso. Detonation appears behind him, the spire extending from her right hand. Really, Anatoly, a villainous monologue explaining your master plan to the protagonist before you kill him. Not a single original bone in your body, is there? Have you no shame, boy? Detonation retracts the spire and dismisses it. Levy's body falls to the wet pavement. SCP-3143 backs away as she dusts off her hands. Well, hopefully your car still works. I'm sorry for playing possum like that. Usually these expositional diatribes have a better chance of manifesting if the antagonist thinks they're alone. She finds SCP-3143's trilby and hands it to him. SCP-3143 does not respond. Does your chin hurt? Personally, I think it's an improvement. Come on, we have to get Veridas. I can't do it. Detonation stares inquisitively. Come on, Murphy, he didn't hit you that hard. I can't do it! SCP-3143 shivers, showing Detonation his hands. Look at me. Look at what he did to me. I can't. Detonation rolls her eyes and crouches down. Alright, what's the problem, Murphy? The problem is I'm not fucking Murphy Law, alright? Not now, at least. And maybe not anymore. I've felt this sort of thing before, but I managed to get away from it without too much issue. But now it feels like it's just been ripped from me, and I can't find it or get it back or anything. You're not making sense, Murph. Just stand up and start walking. I'll drive if you... But I'm not Murphy Law. I'm Murphy fucking Lawden. I'm a retired shoe salesman from New Jersey who lives with his cats, Philip and Marlowe. I'm not hard or handsome or ready to give anybody any fucking business. I'm a loser, a nobody, a fucking... Oh, God. SCP-3143 hyperventilates. Dietrichson stares at him calmly in the rain. Guys like me don't go up against the Horizon Initiative or hang out with gorgeous magical women or have car chases with the Chaos Insurgency. I just write self-indulgent parodies of detective noir. SCP-3143 covers his face. Dietrichson patiently removes his hands, holding them gently. And I'm still here. He blinks, bewildered. What? I'm still here, Murphy. This is your true self, isn't it? He nods. And I'm still here. I've seen you for who you really are, and I haven't gone anywhere. I'm still here by your side. SCP-3143 is silent for a moment. Why? Because I know exactly what it's like to feel like you've lost everything. To be betrayed. To make horrible choices just to survive. To be hated over and over and over again. I understand pain and heartache like you wouldn't even believe. And I know the madness that comes with trying, desperately, for unending ages, to crawl out from all that and make something from the remnants. Even beyond hopeless insanity, you still try and try. A candle, burnt down to nothing, wondering if you'll ever get that second chance. Dietrichson smiles softly, putting a hand on SCP-3143's face. He shudders and glances away. But you've got magic, special powers. You're alluring, smart, sophisticated. I got nothing. She nods respectfully. So you say. And truthfully, I don't need you with me at all. I can handle this debacle all on my own. SCP-3143 glumly wipes the rain from his face. Dietrichson assists him. But I still want to be with you. You understand? I don't need you with me. I want you with me. Dietrichson leans forward, gently kissing SCP-3143 on the forehead before withdrawing and standing up. She reaches her hand out. Please, Murphy. I want to end this with you. Slowly, SCP-3143 raises its arm. Its fingers almost brush against Dietrichson's before they draw back. He stands up, adjusts his coat, smiles shyly, shakes her hand. I can't promise you anything, Friday. I'm just a regular... sorry, I mean Barbara. Her laughter is like music. You can call me Friday if you like. She offers his trilby. Mr. Lawden. He sheepishly puts the trilby on and takes a deep breath. Well, no sense in you shoving your boot up Maxim Veridas' ass by yourself, right? Friday grins. SCP-3143, Lawden, walks back to his car with her, pausing to carefully pick up and store Levy's discarded pencil. Friday opens the driver's door to Murphy's Packard. Lawden places his hand on hers, nods, and gets in. She smiles and gets in through the passenger side. Together, they drive off in the rain. Murphy's car pulls up in front of a large iron gate. Lawden gets out and tries opening it to no avail. He steps aside as Friday touches it. Intense heat transfers from her hand to the bars, which quickly melt. The gate opens. Lawden notices an active security camera before passing through. Well, if they didn't know we were here before, that's alright. Just a minor setback. Lawden flimsily removes the magnum from his holster. I have to be honest, I'm not a very good shot with this. I don't even think I've fired it. I mean, me. I'm not overly fond of firearms myself, but I'm sure you'll do fine. Lawden takes several deep breaths as they walk across a paved road to the manor. 6 armed Horizon guards intercept them, shouting sharply. Well, here goes Friday rapidly mutters in an arcane language, causing her hair and clothes to billow. The 6 guards groan, wobble, and tilt over. One of them is snoring. Very handy. Are you sure you want me here, though? I feel so useless. I wouldn't trade you for Heracles himself. They continue to the manor, Friday putting several more guards to sleep. When they reach the front entrance, Lawton holds a hand up. Wait a second. I saw something like this on MacGyver. He carefully aims his magnum at the lock, braces himself, and fires. The lock shatters, causing Lawton to exclaim, Hey, it worked! Friday silently places an encouraging hand on his shoulder. They enter the manor, Lawton guiding them down the hallway. Before they pass one of the doorways, Sister Claire emerges, visibly agitated. You'll have to leave before... Oh, Mr. Law, is that you? You look so... yeah, it's a long story, sister. Is Veridas here? Yes, but... She notices the broken lock and a smoking magnum in Lawton's hand, and begins trembling. What do you want with him? Move out of our way, girl, if you don't want to get hurt. Claire glares defiantly at Friday and bars the way. Friday raises her hand, but Lawton lowers it. Hang on. Let me try talking to her. Look, sister, I know this is going to sound crazy, but Veridas is making a weapon that kills narrative concepts. Think of it like erasing characters, settings, and archetypes of stories. It also works on people. I don't know how. I just want to try and stop him before... Claire remains unmoved. Lawton hems. He reaches into his coat pocket, removing a plastic bag covering a pencil. Do you have some food or a plant we could use? I think it's better if we show you. Claire remains motionless for a moment. Carefully, she reaches into her pocket, producing an orange. I was about to eat this when I heard that shot going off. Lawton takes the orange and carefully applies the eraser to it. Claire's eyes widen as the orange disintegrates. Lawton puts the pencil back in the bag. A man named Anatoly Levy killed 2 Foundation personnel with that. He also put some kind of explosive on my car while you were fixing it, and he tried to kill me. I know it's a lot to take in, but... Claire trembles. Max was always talking about ways to remove evil from the world. I even overheard him claiming he was onto something new. I never imagined. That's why we have to stop him. I know you two care for each other, but... Lawton steps closer. He presents his magnum to Claire. You want to know the truth, right? And so do we. Look, take my gun. He has a fireplace in his room. I'll throw the pencil in there. Does that work out for you? Claire nods timorously and cautiously confiscates the gun. Friday sighs. He may not give us the luxury of peaceful negotiations, you know. Yeah, but I won't be the one who starts any trouble. For an instant, a familiar gleam lights up in Lawton's eye.
I'll just be the one who finishes it.
Lawton moves on. Claire briefly stops him, placing a hand on his shoulder. He touches her hand, nodding, and she lets them go. He breathes a sigh of relief. You have a way with words, Murphy. I'm impressed. I wouldn't have been able to do that. You probably would have just put her to sleep or got her feet stuck to the floor. Yes, but at the end of the day, I'd still have an enemy. You wouldn't. Lawton smiles proudly as they continue down the hallway. Around the middle, they find Bianco Spino barring their way. Her face is a mask of cold stone. You know, if I thought that warning you two would have any effect, I'd offer it. But it seems you're committed. Well, so am I. You're in over your head, girl. Are you sure you want to lay down your life for... Friday freezes, gawking as Bianco Spino approaches them. All of her aggression rolls off like a weight, and she's left completely indolent. Bianco Spino smiles coldly, placing a hand on Friday's cheek. You witches are always so haughty, until your magic is taken away. She slaps Friday. Don't worry, your time will come. After all, you're the reason why we manufactured those erasers in the first place. But first, your friend, the man of the hour. She approaches Lawton, who has completely lost the will to fight. That's right. Just relax. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to remove you from existence and make the world forget all about Murphy Law. Shh. Bianco Spino produces a pencil from her belt, holding it before her as she calmly approaches Lawden. He tries making a run for it, but she tackles him against the wall, pinning his throat. Don't resist, Mr. Law. It's nothing personal, just tying up loose ends. Your death here heralds in a golden age where wicked witches no longer... Murphy! Friday steps between them as Bianco Spino thrusts forward. The eraser strikes her square in the chest. She has just enough strength left to push the other woman away before slowly falling backwards. Thunder peals. Although Lawden cannot be sure, he thinks he sees a flock of doves fluttering from Friday's chest as she falls. Lawden catches her. Friday! Friday! No! No, 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 no! He trembles as the light leaves her eyes. Slowly, she looks at him, reaching her hand up to caress his face. He holds her hand. I know you won't forget me, Murphy. And I know I'll never forget. She fades and is gone. Lawden wails quietly. Bianco Spino shakes herself and climbs back to her feet. The pencil is gone. Not quite how I planned it out. Oh well. You fucking bitch! Lawden lunges at her, but stops short, his fist trembling as it hovers a breath away from Bianco Spino's face. She stares at it coldly as he lurches away. Too bad. She only delayed the inevitable. I won't be able to erase you, but at least I'll be able to dispose of you. She bends over and produces a stiletto from her boot. This might sting a little. Bianco Spino makes it 2 steps before something wraps around her waist. Before she can react, she is squeezed tightly, forcing her to drop her weapon. Lawden stares in wonder as Claire lifts Bianco Spino's feet off the ground. Claire? How are you? She winces as Claire squeezes tighter. I'm not being violent. I'm hugging someone who's a very dear friend and mentor. I'm just being very, very affectionate about it. Bianco Spino gurgles as Claire lifts her even higher. Lawden gawks. What the hell are you, lady? A sumo wrestler? No, I just grew up in a strict convent. Where's your friend? Dead. Her killer's in your arms. Is that so? Well then, how about some extra love? Something pops, and Bianco Spino nearly passes out. Claire struggles to keep her pinned. It's okay, Mr. Law. We'll hug this out. You go do what you need to do. Lawden whistles and tips his hat. Must have been some convent. I owe you one, sister. Lawden runs forward, guided by the spirit of the woman he loved. Fade out. Fade in. Interior, Grand Inquisitor Veridas' office. Late afternoon. Veridas is seated at his desk. A mellow fire is burning briskly on the opposite end of the room. Rain patters softly on the window, the silence broken by the low rumbling of thunder. The door opens, and a figure walks through. Well done, Romeo. That went better than we could have... The door shuts. Veridas looks up, seeing the figure. It is Murphy. He walks over to the fireplace, taking out the pencil he confiscated from Levy, showing it to Veridas. He then throws it in the fire. You'll need something a bit larger than that if you want to stay warm, my son.
It's over, Veridas. I'm here to put a stop to you. I gave my word to a good woman that I wouldn't get rough with you unless I had to. But right now, I'm awful tempted to break that word.
What's the matter, Mr. Law? You seem different from the last time we met.
I'm not in a good mood, Padre. I just watched a woman I cared about die. The weapons you're manufacturing were responsible.
Veridas calmly stands up, taking a bottle of white wine from a rack. He pours himself a glass. Those weapons, as you put it, are our best hope of ridding this world of its true evils. Zoom in on Murphy's eyes as they glare. Cut back to Veridas, staring coolly as he takes a drink. I realize that sort of rhetoric doesn't sit well with you, but when I say evil, I mean it, in its barest and purest form. A bent rod can be reshaped, a flaw can be improved upon, a broken vase repaired. But true evil, true diseases, the sort that even one as cynical as you would be repulsed by, who would not share our desire to eradicate that?
Levy seemed to agree with you. He's dead now. Thought you'd want to know.
He reaped what he sowed. You know, that woman was one of the oldest and most powerful witches in all of history, Mr. Law. You have no idea the sort of horrors she's unleashed on the world. How many people she's killed, betrayed, lied to, cursed. The depths of her wickedness are immeasurable. He sips from his glass.
She was good to me, Padre, even when I didn't deserve it. That's all I care about.
I'm shocked that someone like you could be so blindly sentimental. But good riddance, all the same. Romeo's in for quite a promotion.
Good riddance? Good riddance? What the hell do you know, asshole? I rushed at the filthy old codger and slammed him against the wall, upsetting several bottles and books. Do you have any idea what I've been through? I lost the finest woman this world has ever known. She was a fucking goddess, you bastard, with more kindness and warmth than I'll ever deserve. She looked at a dead-end loser with nothing to offer and saw something beautiful. Do you know what it's like to have someone know you that well and still want to be around you? Do you know what it's like to watch that same person die in your arms right after she saved your worthless life? Huh? Where's the good riddance in that, you reprehensible piece of fucking shit? I wanted to kill him. I wanted to rip his face off and shove it down his screaming throat. I wanted to crucify him on his bones, pin him like the insect he was, but then I remembered what I came here for, so I just jostled him a bit. Then I let him go.
Veridas coughs, dusts himself off, and straightens his clothes.
Where are the rest of these pencils being made? Talk, and I'll show myself out.
Veridas drinks the rest of his glass. He glares at Murphy. Now you strive for my position, detective? What makes you think I'll share that information?
Because if you don't, I'll break your legs and turn this office inside out until I find something.
Veridas scowls, knowing Murphy isn't bluffing. He silently reaches around his neck, removing a lanyard with a key on it. He unlocks a drawer in his desk and stands back. Murphy keeps his eye on Veridas as he opens it. Inside is a folder, which he takes and skims over. One of the papers has shipping information for a warehouse. Murphy puts the folder in his coat pocket.
Thanks. Give my regards to Sister Claire.
Murphy turns his back. He hears the click of a revolver. And give mine to that witch! Murphy whirls around, going for his gun, but realizes he gave it to Claire. He winces as Veridas fires. He cannot be sure, but he thinks he sees an ethereal hand grab the gun and point it away. It fires harmlessly into the wall. It could be his imagination, but he thinks he hears a voice. Give him hell, Murphy Law.
Sorry, sister. All bets are off. Time to give him a bit of the business.
Murphy strikes Veridas, who falls to the ground. Murphy straddles him and raises his fist. Hand back to show their shadows cast against the wall.
So I gave it to him.
He strikes Veridas.
Again.
He strikes Veridas.
And again.
He strikes Veridas.
And again.
He strikes Veridas.
And again.
He strikes Veridas multiple times.
I was in a real giving mood that day.
Murphy continues to strike Veridas until there is nothing left to strike. He staggers to his feet, catching his breath, his hand shaking uncontrollably.
I breathed deep. my lungs filling with blood and smoke and fire. I must have shattered every bone in my hand during our exchange. Every second brings with it a rush of throbbing pain that ripples through muscles and nerves until it overcomes me completely. I took one last look at whatever was left of Veridas. All things considered, I'd say I got a pretty good deal.
Murphy randomly takes a bottle of wine off the shelf, pops the cork, and drinks from the bottle. He pours some on his hand and walks out of the room. In the distance, he sees Claire sitting on Biancospino. She looks over, seeing his mangled hand covered in blood and wine. Her eyes widen in horror. Murphy sighs and tips his trilby.
Sorry about the mess.
Murphy leaves the manor and drives off, alone. Fade out. Fade in. Exterior, nondescript warehouse. Night. Murphy Law's Packard is seen idling some distance away from the warehouse. Murphy sits in silence, an Agifold camera in the passenger seat next to him. He stares at the warehouse for several minutes before shutting off the engine. He takes the camera and gets out of the car, taking several photographs of the exterior. He then opens the trunk, removing a canister of gasoline. 2 armed guards rush out of the warehouse door. Murphy fires twice. He walks past their bodies and opens the door. Murphy takes a moment to study the interior. A large portion of the warehouse has shelves full of crates. Murphy finds a crowbar and opens one of them. Inside are countless pencils, each one sealed in a small, clear plastic wrapper. Murphy douses the crates in gasoline and continues exploring the warehouse. He soon comes to the main factory floor, where an automated system cuts the pencils and fits the graphite. He takes several photos and pours gasoline on the machinery. Murphy notices a steel security door off to the side. He tries opening it, then shoots at the handle. The door opens, revealing thaumaturgists of Malleus, Horizon's main force. Murphy shoots them all and takes several photographs. He notes this is the room where the effects of SCP-2747 are bonded to the erasers. He empties half his canister in the room. Murphy takes several finished pencils and photographs them. He then records their effects on one of the bodies, finally ending with a picture of discarded clothes. Murphy continues exploring the warehouse and factory, taking various photos, slowly emptying his canister. Once he notices there are only 5 shots left in his camera, he reaches into his pocket and produces his lighter and a bottle. He empties the last of his gasoline in the bottle, stuffs a rag into the neck, and ignites his lighter. He brings the fire close, studying the flame. He covers his nose and mouth with a wet cloth, lights the rag, and throws the cocktail into the center of the factory. A conflagration bursts. Murphy watches the fire spread, then slowly walks out, taking pictures of the fire. As he exits, he tosses his lighter behind him, walking away from the burning building. He briefly turns around to take one last photo. 50 members of the Chaos Insurgency are waiting outside. One of them, a red-haired woman with an eye patch, approaches Murphy, armed with an assault rifle.
Any problems, lady?
No, sir, Mr. Law. No problems here. The commander signals for her people to stand down. Murphy walks through them. The commander and her group keep a silent vigil over the flames. Murphy heads to his car, puts the camera in the passenger seat, and drives away. Fade out. Fade in. Interior. Telephone booth. Mid-morning. Murphy Law is conversing with placeholder McDoctorate. His right hand is in a cast. I would have preferred it if you had kept at least one of them for a sample. Levy confiscated the pieces you left at 278.
Yeah, sorry about that, Doc, but me and my smoking habits. You know how it is. Oh, how's Fred?
It was returned to containment recently. Director Mann reported seeing a Freddy the Butcher walking with a cane around 221 Baker Street.
Oh yeah? Well, that's good. So, are we all squared up?
We are. Not to complete satisfaction, but sometimes the Foundation has to take what they can get. My condolences for your friend. A silence passes between them.
Ancient history. It's not like you were acquainted.
We were, actually. She came to us after you first met her. Gave us a note to leave you if things ever settled down. The silence returns. Murphy swallows.
Oh yeah?
I didn't open it. I just put it in the slot.
Real considerate of you, Doc. Thanks.
And thank you, Mr. Lawden. Excuse me, Mr.
Hey, placeholder. Do me a favor, would you?
What's that?
The next time you're in the neighborhood, turn around and walk the other way.
Murphy hangs up and leaves the booth. He walks back to his office, passing his Packard. He opens the door, hanging his coat on a rack. He notices an envelope on the floor and picks it up, then sits at his desk and opens it. A letter is inside. Murphy, thanks for putting up with me. You have no idea how wonderful it feels to have someone on my side, even for a short time. No matter what happens, no matter what anybody else says, I know you're a good man. I hope that means something to you. With all my love, Friday. Murphy blinks as he reads the letter. He finds a tissue and wipes his entire face.
Darned heat.
He folds the letter so that it stays open, putting it on his desk. He then looks over at his calendar, seeing the date as Friday the 13th. Murphy grins and laughs out loud. He keeps his smile as he leans back, puts his feet on his desk, and tilts his trilby over his eyes. Pan back, showing Murphy Law resting peacefully in his office. Slow fade out. We're given the SCP file for SCP-8643 with the object class of Neutralized. All existing samples of the pencils were incinerated by SCP-3143. 8643 was a number 2 wooden pencil bearing an eraser with the traits and properties of SCP-2747, produced by the Horizon Initiative for the purpose of permanently annihilating narrative constructs on a physical, memetic, and noospherical level. Through redacted means, it was also effective on organic entities normally not considered pataphysical in nature, including baseline humans, animals, anomalies, etc. Thaumaturgists of Project Malleus managed to graft the properties of 2747 onto these erasers, causing contact with a narrative construct to be completely removed from all cognitive and memetic cohesion. Due to the process of wear and tear, a mass quantity had been produced, estimated to be between 5 and 12,000. Sometime later, Placeholder is in his office, composing his report on the pencils. As he cross-references something, he hears a soft sound, but doesn't look up. An amorphous figure manifests in his office, and Placeholder comments that you can't keep a wicked witch down. The entity chuckles and says it was only a little aspect of herself, the heroic seductress, another skin for the snake to slough. She calls it a salutary experience, and one of her more satisfying deaths. Placeholder comments that Friday refers to a character from a Howard Hawks comedy, not a film noir, and he's surprised that Murphy didn't expose her for her portmanteau of Barbara Stanwyck and Phyllis Dietrichson. She laughs and says that Placeholder of all people wouldn't begrudge her an alias. He wonders if she doesn't feel shame for the way she manipulated Murphy, but she just shrugs and says that they all got what they wanted in the end, and their narrative has been saved from calamity. Placeholder says that Horizon is going to hold them responsible for killing one of their Grand Inquisitors, but the Chaos Insurgency will likely ease up for a while. She says that the universe balances itself out, but Placeholder asks about Murphy's apparent happy ending. She smiles with a sweet cruelty and says that she's sure he'll be back to alcoholism, misanthropy, and near-death experiences shortly, which could be what he really wants. Placeholder comments on the never-ending cycle of serialized narrative sensationalism, where everything and nothing changes, and asks to what does he owe the pleasure of her visit this time. She tells him that she's taken a hiatus from her regular activities and traveling to Orcadia, where she heard that she has a doppelganger. Placeholder sighs and says that that's just what he needs, 2 of them. He hopes that she keeps the encounter peaceful, but she says that she can only make promises for herself before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. Placeholder coughs and swears, commenting on archetypes. So, once again, Murphy Law has prevailed against criminals and ne'er-do-wells thanks to his grit and moxie. He believes that he lost the love of his life in the process, and nearly lost himself, but he soldiered on and solved the case. He's no longer on the run from the Foundation, back in his usual office, and ready to take on anyone else that needs a bit of the business. Murphy Law is perhaps my favorite part of the SCP universe, even when it's just him as a noir detective solving anomalous mysteries, and without any of the pataphysical interactions. I can only hope that there's plenty more Murphy Law in the future, as we know that the SCP universe is one where things often go wrong, and he's certainly the best guy to call.